Well, hello there. It's a weekend update. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy Saturday. We're 2 days away from Armageddon. I don't know what's happening Monday.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know whether you were paying attention yesterday, but I was in the middle of a podcast. I do this podcast with some friends. Pardon?
Yeah, the earthquake?
Yes, the earthquake. And it was about 10:30, quarter of 11 in the morning Eastern time. And one of the guys said, "Hold on, wait a second. My chandelier is shaking." And he said, "I think we're having an earthquake." He lives in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. I thought, wow. Come to find out, the earthquake was centered in New Jersey. It was a 4.8 Richter scale earthquake, and it was 7 miles from Bedminster, which is where Trump has his golf course. Now, of course, everybody on the left is saying, "Oh, something's up there," you know. There's a correlation between the earthquake and Trump's golf course. I don't know about that. But the other interesting thing was, Bill, I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but at 6 o'clock last night, there was a second earthquake in New Jersey, and it was 4.0 on the Richter scale. So the first one was 4.7 or 8, and the second one was 4.0. Both centered in the same basic area.
Apparently, earthquakes on the East Coast different than earthquakes on the West Coast that happen all the time because they're more rare here. The way the plates are formed, they last longer. You know, they go on for a long time and are felt for a long ways. And I don't know much. I do find it odd. It's been a long time since I've had them. You know, it might have been 30, 40, 50 years, but it does seem odd. And
well, up in the Northeast, there's a lot of granite, a lot of rock, the Appalachians, things like that. And I think when you're in California, maybe I'm wrong, a lot of it is there's more of a sandy, more dirt. You know, maybe you feel it for a shorter period of time, but it's more violent in the Southwest because you don't have the rocks. Maybe you feel it in the Northeast because it it reverberates through the rock and the stones in the Northeast. I don't know.
There could be a lot of truth to that. I got to wonder. I didn't research it, but I'm sitting there going, the timing is really kind of funny because, well, you got the eclipse coming up. It's a historic eclipse, monumental proportions that everybody's talking about. And I'm going like, and you're saying, well, they're locking down prisoners, they're locking down everything, they're calling states of emergency. Any policeman will tell you when there's a full moon, because of how everything works and the tides and the moon and the pull of it, it causes the fluids in the head to kind of act funny. So people that have a preclusion to be kind of they get more that way.
Bill, you know the expression lunatic? Lunatic means moon. Luna is moon, and so there's a correlation in the name itself.
Well, can it have correlation to things? The way rivers flow, the tides. Obviously, it does. So
it affects everything.
Yeah. So it could affect the ground plates. The plates.
Hey,
in the
listen,
planet.
Bill.
Who knows?
Bill, there's a lot of people speculating that something major is up, and we're not privy to it. I mean, we've had many of an eclipse before in the past, and it's been no big deal. But now for states to call a state of emergency, Indiana being one of them, and they say there are others. New York, they put all their prisoners on lockdown for Monday.
Well, it's probably a wise thing because you go to the lunatic theory and everything. Well, you don't want a prison full of wackos that have certain freedoms, they could probably take over the place. Locked down in their cells, they can't do anything. Well, I don't think they can. You never know.
It's hard to. When
Unless
you're locked
you got
down.
A guard that's a lunatic going, man, what happens if I open these cells? Boom.
Yeah, what a maroon. But anyway, it'll be interesting. I don't know about you. I've had this sense. Do you know? You've probably heard this before.
The cackles in the back of your neck thing where
soldiers,
your hair stands up?
Yeah, soldiers have been walking in the woods. We talked about this on the phone yesterday. Soldiers will be walking in combat, and before they actually meet the enemy, a lot of guys will tell you they can sense the enemy. They can sense that they're near danger, and maybe it's something innate in every human being, and some people are more sensitive to it. But I've had all the past couple of days, I've had this feeling like, I don't know, there's a shoe that's about to be dropped. I don't know where it is and what it is, but it I have the hair on my neck is standing up, if you know what I mean.
Mm. Well, there are people that can sense stuff. I mean, have you ever been out somewhere and you felt like you were being stared at, and you look and then you were being stared at? The human condition, I guess, is pretty powerful. Your mind and your perceptions. Sometimes you shouldn't question them. You should take heed to them, because.
Have you felt the same thing, haven't you?
Yesterday I don't know, because I pick up on the news and things like that, and things going on, and I just get this feeling that there is something lurking that's about to happen. I'm waiting for that next shoe to fall. And, we got a lot of political shoes out there that are set to fall. But, there are natural things and man-made things that could happen too.
Yeah.
And, somebody played a late April Fool's joke on me saying, oh, yeah, Putin died cancer. And I'm going, what? Because that could be devastating. What a change in the news that would be, because the person that would take over would be, you think he's
Medvedev. Medvedev has already said he sounds much more hawkish and much less controlled than.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. But, it was a joke. And I said, well, you got me on that one, but that's not a good joke.
No.
And he really is. The guy is healthy. If anything, he's the most stable person we got there in Russia, and I'd leave him alone. I wouldn't poke that bear.
Yeah, people say, what do you mean? It's Putin. He's supposed to be the big bad guy. But, we haven't gone to war with Russia. And
maybe we have the big bad guy. All the Hollywood elite are pushing the Democrats and supporting Joe. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson here.
Bill.
He denounced his endorsement of the Democrats, and Biden said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
His career is going to go down the toilet. But
I got it right here.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
Yeah, well, that's The Rock. The problem is a lot of people think that, we're in the situation we're in right now because guys like Dwayne The Rock Johnson endorsed him in the first place.
Well, he said something very important. I'm in a position where I have influence, and so I thought I'd use that. You know what? We put you there. Yes, you have certain skills that earned you the right for us to put you there, but we didn't put you there for your political opinion. Keep that to yourself. And that goes to, The Rock, Taylor Swift, Oprah Winfrey. You go down the list, all of them, and we don't give a rat's ass about what you think. It's what we think. But you peddling the influence, that's wrong. And there are people out there. They are puppets, that can be led. They don't want to make a decision on their own.
That's true.
Make a decision, friend. Make your own decision. Don't let them make it for you, or you're going to end up like The Rock going, oh, I did the wrong thing. Jeez. If you're going to do the wrong thing, make it your decision, not somebody else's.
There are other Hollywood actors who are doing the same thing. They're changing their opinions of President Biden. But, that says to me, look at these guys, they're not paying a lot of attention in the first place. Because if you paid attention in 2020, Dwayne, you would have seen that this guy was no different than he is right now. He was a fathead then, he was a fathead 10 years ago, and he's a fathead now. So you shouldn't have, for you to change your mind suddenly, it probably says to me that maybe you've seen your taxes go way up, on a lot of your businesses because of Bidenomics. Maybe the operating expenses of your sports teams have gone way up because of Bidenomics, and you're feeling
He's been running in the wrong circles, and he, like he said, well, he's got a position of influence. Somebody influenced him, and he's got to realize that, that even he is the victim to that. If he's gonna get in a political circle, make sure you're in the right circle. That really goes with your feelings.
Yeah,
nothing more than feelings.
Well, it'll be interesting to see whether these guys will have the same influence. I would imagine that there'll be people who went in his direction in 2020 because of his endorsement who will now look at him and say, well, what do you vacillate? You don't stand by your... So,
where is he going now? Who is he pointing to? I mean, he won't, see, he went a good distance there going, I don't endorse that now. Who do you endorse? Nothing. Well, you're going to have to pick a side, as Democrats like to say. You got to pick a side, and you just said your side sucks.
Well, you remember actor Michael Rappaport? Yeah, Michael Rappaport. I don't know that you saw some of his videos back in 2020, but I mean, he was pretty foul-mouthed about his opinion of Trump. His videos were something I wouldn't show my grandchildren, and they're almost adults. I mean, he was. It was a surprise to see how much disdain he had for Trump. And now he's saying, I will not vote for Joe Biden. Well, maybe
who's he going to vote for?
Well, maybe he'll vote for Kennedy. I don't know, but he's not going to vote for Biden. Well, hey, you should have been paying more attention in 2020. Maybe you would have had a different opinion. Instead of voting for the personality, vote for the policies.
Get a pen and paper and write down the candidates that are out there. Candidate Biden, Trump. And do 2 columns each. What's bad? What's good about them? Don't get into their personal stuff. Well, if you want to, Joe's a pedophile. He's a liar.
Yeah.
Let's put it all on the table. Don't give him any privileges. You want to go with Trump, and you put down the Stormy Daniels. If you believe
Bill,
you believe it's true or can prove it, then you put that there too. But is that a disqualifying fact?
Maybe we should explain to our newer listeners where we get that point of view. Where the fact. I mean, you just made a statement that Joe's a pedophile. A lot of people will say that's a pretty harsh thing to say, but wow, what gives you any reason to say it? Well, maybe you can explain.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to the book that's in question right now that they're trying to poo-poo, The Diary of His Daughter, where, he made her as a child shower with dad, dear old dad. Let me ask you, if you got a daughter, let's say you're a 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate to take a shower with your 8-year-old daughter? You and she are naked together?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's sick.
Father Joe did, and she said so. Now, she hates that book was out there because she opened up her soul and her heart, and I get where she hates that that's out there, but actually, she did us a favor by keeping that diary because we see inside. Who is the guy that goes out there and sniffs hair where mothers go, oh, my God, he's sniffing my child's hair.
Yeah.
I just love, what's he doing? I mean, he's got this.
I would suggest to people, look around at other men. Do you see other normal, good men going up to your children and sniffing their hair?
You talk about, you can go back to the Clintons, but Biden, let's just take him. There was a page in the White House that he quartered and digitized, and when she refused him, he goes, well, I heard you were into me. Well, who told you?
That was Tara Reid.
Yes, and she moved out of this country, moved to Russia.
That's right.
To get away from this crap.
Yeah.
And that's a big statement right there. But yet she's a diehard Democrat, but she said, I can't take this anymore. And so she's just out of here. And he's claiming, well, it never happened, but there's too many witnesses that say it did, too much documentation. He used to walk around the vice presidential mansion in his all-togetherness. In other words, friends, he was naked, and he thought everybody needed to see.
You know what his handle was?
Cobra.
Yeah, Cobra. The Secret Service would announce that to other Secret Service personnel.
All of this is documented.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So, yeah, Joe is a pedophile. and he's backed pedophiles.
Hey, Bill.
People that have
Bill, wait a second. When he was an adult, wasn't he dating Jill Biden? Well, he wasn't supposed to be.
Well, he was married. She was the babysitter. As a matter of fact, her ex-husband says, yeah, there was an affair. As a matter of fact, it was Joe that was with her in her vet, not his vet, her vet.
And he got into an accident, and I guess he got a phone call from the police. This is the first husband. And he said, well, your wife's been in an accident. And I guess in the conversation, he said something like, well, where was she driving? Well, she wasn't driving.
Yeah, he was driving the car. He wrecked the car.
Yeah.
He wrecked the car, but, all of that's covered up. Now, there's also, now we get into the hearsay, but, his ex-wife had the kids, with her, and then she got into the accident. Now, this is while Jill was still just a young lady. I mean, I think she was a teenager at the time she was a babysitter, and Joe was having his little fling with her, and that was an obvious thing. She helped in the campaign. That's what it was. She was helping with the campaign. I'm sure she was.
I think Joe's about 9 or 10 years older than Jill. I could be wrong, but I think that's about the difference.
But she was a young lady wanting power, and here's a guy that seemed to be on his way to power, and so she clung on to him. And, there is an allure of a little bit older man to a young teenage girl. I
think Joe said he got into the Senate when he was 30. He was actually voted in when he was 29. So, he was in his very early 30s when I believe this all happened, and she was in her very early 20s.
But she'd been a babysitter long before that. So how long it was going on, I don't know, but it built over the years. So you've got that question, but the rumor is that his wife, was disillusioned, took the kids, and, there's questions about her accident that killed her. And, Biden, obviously, he's the victim in this.
Yeah.
And he was the cause, of her condition at the time. So, but, let's, that's that I'm going to sit there and say not substantiated, but, documented, but not substantiated. But the other stuff, with him and the digitizing and the perversions, and it's not the only time.
Can you imagine, Bill, being so traumatized that you have to leave the country? I mean, you go to Russia. Now, she probably was threatened. I'm just saying,
That's an interesting point because you have the Stormy Daniels, and let's back up the bus here. Stormy Daniels is a porn star. Some very nasty, did I say nasty movies? So keep that in mind. Now, they're trying to paint her as an intelligent woman, and she's wavered on her story all the time. Now, a lot of women go, Trump probably did. He was young, and that was a cool thing to do. But I look at the demeanor of Trump that he is a germaphobe. And would you sit there and go around with that bucket of slop? I don't think so. But either way, you look at her, and she's tried to do these cases before, and there was nothing there. She was going after money, and
well, Bill,
she's been sunk every time. And now they're making it.
Well, that's just it. She's actually. This is like, how many times does she get a bite of the apple? Because this case has been in front of judges in the past and either dismissed or thrown out and found in favor of Trump in some form or another. Yet it keeps bouncing back into the courtroom. And now they're making it sound like it's a big friggin' deal. By the way, I don't know.
Hush money is a very common
I don't know
thing.
whether you're aware of this or not, but Merchant, the judge, Trump's people yesterday filed a motion requesting that this guy, Merchant, be removed from the court because he has a conflict of interest, because his daughter, the judge's daughter, is making millions of dollars in an organization whose sole goal is to keep Trump from the presidency.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's got a lot of conflicts. That's not the only one. But are they going to get it? No, because it's another Democrat that blocks the way. And that is something that you have to look at in the Trump cases. What are the odds of, all these cases brought forward, number one, that these are legitimate cases. They all happen to happen at a time that he's running for office. And they all happen to be brought on by, let's see, what are their political Democrats?
Yeah.
Either appointed Democrat judges
Funny
or
how that
Democratic
works.
judges.
Yeah.
It's really funny how that works. Now, the only judge, let's talk about judges being recused. Eileen Cannon, who is upholding the law and the constitutional rights of a president who has the right on documents while he's president to say, this is personal, this is classified, this is that.
That struck a nerve with the special counsel.
Well, now he's going to go nuclear on it, and he's going to push to have her taken off the case and recused because she will not turn her court into a kangaroo court. So,
but it's interesting. It's interesting because the article goes on and says it's almost like Cannon challenged Jack Smith to do this. It's like,
well, here's my question. Mm-hmm. You look at the Georgia case. The one person that could have put that whole thing to bed was the governor.
Oh, absolutely, Kemp.
This case is down in Florida.
Yeah.
Could DeSantis grow a pair and just say,
enough
is enough?
I think it's federal. I think I think this case is in federal court, and he can't do it. If it was a state situation, that would be different. But,
what was the court down in Georgia? Because
Georgia is a state. It's being filed by the district attorney in Fulton County.
But it's got federal ramifications.
Well, maybe, but it does. It was filed by the DA of Fulton County.
So they made a mistake there. They if they had done it the other way, they probably would have done the dance. But either way,
but Kemp is supposedly he was a backstabber going back to 2020. He could have stopped. He could have very easily have said, "Let's do a recount on the votes in Georgia," and there would have been a recount. He's the governor, but he kind of stayed off the basketball court. He said, "Hey, I'm not gonna go get into this game." He was not.
There was a hate and disdain against,
and he could
Trump
do it now, Bill. He could do it now.
Could. But there's a hate of Trump because Trump represents a people's candidate. And Trump we didn't put Trump there because he was a holy man.
No, we didn't there
because
we didn't vote for a minister or a priest. We voted for a president.
So we know the so-called sins and transgressions, if they're real sins. There's because they sure as hell weren't before he ran, but they became sins after he did. And
Bill, a lot of people don't realize that when he was just a multi-millionaire in New York City, guys like Chuckle Schumer would go into his office hat in hand and plead for donations for their campaign. And Trump, being a good businessman, realizing it was great to have these people in his court, so to speak, he would give them money. He would give them donations. So when you hear Chuck Schumer sounding like he's out to get Trump, there's more to this story. Guys like what's it, Al Sharpton would go in. They were buddies with Trump at one time. They would pat him on the back. Oh, he's a great guy.
Look, you can train a shark in a pool to come up and feed it all the time. It gets used to that, and it'll come up and eat. But the time that it comes up and you don't have anything for it to eat, you're the next meal. And politicians are the same way. They'll come to you, and if they see that they got a gravy train, they'll take that gravy train, and then when the gravy train is over, they'll eat you alive.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you, and this is kind of going back to our first story. There's a lot of speculation going on that something major is going to happen, and they think that this earthquake. Some people are on the internet saying, maybe it wasn't just your normal earthquake. Maybe they were
blowing up tunnels or something.
Either blowing up tunnels, or maybe they were detonating nuclear devices underground or something. They don't know. It seems coincidental that there was one at 10:30 in the morning, and then another one at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Now I know there were aftershocks.
Well, I guess I would have to ask the question, and I've often wondered that. It's like, boy, when I lived out in California, I go, boy, somebody goes and strategically targets a nuke. As a matter of fact, it's been in movies before too. Somebody's going to control the world when they blow up half the part of take California and sink it with a nuke on the San Andreas Fault. Well, my question is, you do something like that at one of those, there's a catch in the plates, and that's what locks California in place. Let's say that you go right there and set off a nuke that would be enough to sit there and shatter that catch.
Right.
What would happen?
Well, here's the thing, Bill. There's always this possibility there's something going on that we don't know about, that maybe we're not talking too far off the beaten path here,
I don't know. The back of my mind, the optimistic little diehard liberal, everything is good in La La Land, and that would never happen.
Well, did you ever think? Most people don't realize that there is we talked about this last week. There's a landlocked submarine base. I want to say it's in Nevada someplace. There's a lake that has a submarine base. Now you're thinking, well, a lake that has a submarine? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. How do the submarines get into the lake? And there is not
underground
there
caverns,
has to be
rivers.
There's either underground rivers or underground channels or something that literally go under the state of California. There's
caverns. There's caverns everywhere, all throughout the land. This planet's not a solid rock all the way through.
There's a lot of speculation that there's a highway system that traverses large sections of our country.
Well,
that is basically private.
You look at the pyramids, and all the deserts around. That desert used to be green grass. And what happened to the water?
What happened to it?
It went underground. It seeps in and it goes. The water never went away. It didn't evaporate. It's still in the planet.
Well, look at the Antarctica.
And that's happened in the United States.
Antarctica used to be tropical.
Yeah.
People say, what? Seriously, the Antarctica used to be tropical. There's some people who believe that the axis of the Earth shifted at some point. And when it shifted, that made the climate different.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you're going to talk about the axis of the world shifting, they've been saying we're on the brink for, the North Pole to become the South and the South to become the North. And, it's like 2011 or whatever it was when, everything flipped. Well, what if this solar eclipse is going to flip the axis?
Well, we'll be in for an interesting weekend. or start to the week, should I say.
Everybody's looking forward to 420. I'd look forward to 3:20 in the afternoon on Monday, the 8th.
Wow. Holy smokes.
And at 420, you better have something to fire up. Smoke them if you got them, because, whoa. How'd that get from there to there?
The good thing is that we're out of the winter weather season for the most part. It
might bring winter right back. It could bring
us
into an ice age.
Yeah.
Don't put away your winter coat just yet. You might want to go buy those winter boots that are on sale right now.
I'll have to go out and put my snowplow back on my lawn tractor, Holy smokes!
Get an ice pick done, to chip the ice off the tractor.
It'll be interesting. A lot of speculation. A lot of people wondering what's going to happen. A lot of people, if it doesn't happen this weekend, a lot of people are saying we're in for a rough 7 more months. We're in for a rough 7 more months. Even if there isn't anything special that happens, like we're talking about, where there's a major change. But they're pretty certain that they're going to go after Trump, try to put him in jail. The left is. It's a no holds barred competition, meaning, before they tried to be subtle about their hatred towards Trump, they tried to be, camouflage. They didn't want to go out and show the world how much they were really trying to put him in jail or to damage his career. Now, because their time is so short, they're just putting everything out there. For example, to give you an example, Adam Schiff. Did you see the article about him? He's petrified.
He's worried.
Yeah, he's petrified that Trump is going to put him in jail as soon as he becomes, quote, dictator, end quote. Dictator. This guy Schiff, if you'll remember, during the Russia hoax, Schiff was the guy who, when he was in the middle of a hearing, literally picked up a piece of paper and he started to read what looked like testimony against Trump, right? Come to find out, it was fiction. It was like a film script that he had written. The dialogue on the script was all made up. But you know, when you lie in a hearing and you're a congressman, you get away with it. Seriously, it's almost like you're immune from lying. These people have stacked the deck so that they can't get any justice brought against them when they're doing it in the name of Congress, if you know what I mean. If they're in the hearing, if they're under oath, or if they're in a hearing room, I mean, you can't trust what they're saying for the most part.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get it.
Adam Schiff is he's afraid that he's going to end up in jail. My question, Adam, is this: if you've done something wrong, and a lot of us think you have, over and over and over again, why shouldn't you go to jail? Why shouldn't there be justice? If you've been doing traitorous things and lying to bring down a presidency, isn't that treason? I'm just saying,
Well, yeah, it is, but it's something they've done for a long time. So
anyway, Joe Biden was at the Key Bridge yesterday, and he was out there, and God forgive me, but this guy lies when he doesn't have to anymore. Listen to what he said.
By the way, folks, I say to my dad, they're mispronouncing Balmer. My dad and the Biden, please sit down. The Biden family goes all the way back to being watermen in this bay for a long, long time, back in the mid-1800s.
Every place this guy goes, he has a story. If he goes to a Jewish temple, he was brought up by his Jewish neighbors. If he goes to an Asian temple or Asian function, he was brought up by his Asian friends in Scranton. He is one made-up story after another. Here, if you missed it, I'm going to play it again. Listen.
By the way, folks, I say to my dad, they're mispronouncing Balmer. My dad and the Biden, please sit down. The Biden family goes all the way back to being watermen in this bay for a long, long time, back in the mid-1800s.
Yes, the Biden family goes back to the mid-1800s being watermen in this bay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I wish the news media would go and research that and challenge it, and challenge him on it. He'd get upset.
Yeah.
He would get very, very upset, and for no reason except that he'd be caught in a lie. See, he was caught in lies a lot of times, and the news media challenged him on that, about his education, his background, and he's
that
got
was
all
back
that.
in the 80s. You're right. That was when they had serious news people.
They go, and turns out, and he even came out and said, I lied about this, I lied about that, I lied about this, but I'm going to go online, so don't get used to it. I'm Joe Biden. We can do that. I'm an idiot.
Yes, I'll get better at it as the years progress. But,
and he didn't stumble back then when he admitted he was a liar too.
But he did chuckle. I remember seeing that video. It was like, oh well, you got me, but you won't get me next time.
You won't do it next time because I know how to cover my tracks.
Bill, he was out there at the same function yesterday at the Key Bridge. I realized the secret to Joe Biden's promises. People make a point of saying, "Oh, he was mumbling," and stuff. Now, I think that's intentional. If you mumble and you're incoherent, people don't know what the hell you promised. Listen.
Today, my administration is announcing the first tranche of dislocated worker grants, fancy phrase, which is dimes. All it is there to make sure it helps create jobs for workers involved in the cleanup of this incident. Additional jobs.
I got to play.
You know what those jobs are? Let's be honest.
Bill, I got to play.
If you notice, the people working there are immigrants. A lot of them illegal.
They understood them.
Well, because They sure they did. I'm most certain they did. He's going in for another round of student loan forgiveness.
Well, that's actually a judge. A judge yesterday ruled against that. I don't know that you're aware of that. I want to play this incoherency again. I want you to listen very carefully to what he says, especially the last half of his statement.
Today, my administration is announcing the first tranche of dislocated worker grants, fancy phrase, which is dimes. All it is there to make sure it helps create jobs for workers involved in the cleanup of this incident. Additional jobs.
What the hell did he just say?
Well, what he did say is all it is, it's there to help create jobs, additional jobs. Who do these jobs go to? You know, everybody's questioning the job numbers.
You actually understood him. You actually understood him. I didn't understand a word he said.
That's what I understood. He said he's hiding the fact that they're creating jobs. Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to go to their numbers count, and they're creating these jobs. And who's paying for the jobs? Well, you, the taxpayer, are, and these will go to the number counts that will go ahead and bolster the April numbers. The March numbers, everyone expected them to be down. But they weren't. They were up, and even Republicans are going, well, those are some good numbers. Now, you wait for the numbers to come out after they sit there, and they recalculate them, and that number goes down. But what was it? Goldman Sachs actually looked at the numbers to compare it to, and they said, well, yeah, okay, what's going on is and they said illegal. It's the illegal immigrants. And so they're taking... If I read it right, they're taking into account stuff that shouldn't be taken into account to fabricate those numbers.
I find it interesting. Dan Goldman is a liberal leftist representative, and he's also, I guess, part of the Goldman Sachs family. So you would think that they would never call illegals what they are. But it's interesting. You were talking about the student loan debt relief. A Biden administration plan to provide student debt relief for people who say they were victims of misleading information by trade schools or colleges is almost certainly unlawful, a federal appeals court judge said. He's blocked the enforcement of that. See, Biden was told by the Supreme Court 6 months or a year ago that his debt relief for the entire student loan situation was unlawful. So he went back with his cronies to Delaware, because I don't think he ever works in the White House, and they said, well,
I don't think he works at all.
Let's break it into little pieces, okay? And we'll do workarounds so that we can give debt relief to certain sections as opposed to the entire thing as a blanket. So that's how they've been doing it. You know, Biden, he's been working around the judgment from the Supreme Court. Well, now this guy is saying you can't do that. But he didn't say it's done. You can't do it anymore. He sent it back to lower courts. So, but it's not looking good. So if you're counting on
But he's going to sit there.
The government to pay for student loans, I wouldn't do that.
But it's an important time for him to do it because, the possibility, he believes in possibilities.
Yes, of course.
He believes in lies and the possibilities that they would deliver if he was actually to deliver on the possibilities, which will never happen. But he sells you on that dream. It's a pipe dream, and he sells you on it only to get your support. When it doesn't happen, then, I tried, but those darn wascal Republicans.
Those Republicans are terrible, and it's all Trump's fault. You know that, really.
As a matter of fact, Trump, before he was born.
Yeah, well, that bridge in Maryland, that was Trump's fault.
How much do you want to bet when they rebuild the bridge that it has a new woke name?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be the Al Sharpton Bridge to Nowhere or something,
yeah, or you know what? I mean, it could be the Rachel Levine Bridge, too. It could be the transgender bridge of hope.
Letitia James Bridge. Yes.
Oh, there you go. The bridge to nowhere.
Made with Trump's money. One of America's most popular dollar stores. You're a dollar store fan. I thought of you immediately. One of America's most popular dollar stores is closing its doors, thanks in large part to the Biden economy. Fox News reports, now I'm not familiar with this chain, so it's probably out west and in the Southwest, 99 cents only is the name of the chain, which has locations across California, Nevada, Texas, and Arizona.
Never heard of it.
Will begin shuttering its 371 locations today as the company moves towards total liquidation. 99 cents only is considered one of America's leading dollar store chains, along with Dollar General, Dollar Tree, which also owns Family Dollar, and Five Below. The only reason why I mentioned this, Bill, is this may be a sign of things to come for the other stores.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. Family Dollar has been in trouble.
Yeah.
And Dollar Tree, they're $1.25 now. They're doing the $3, the $5, and even things $7.50. I'm going, well, boy, you know what? Now there is a marketing way they could get around that, but they're not doing it. So they're the Dollar Tree, and they've got to figure out their marketing strategy, or they're in trouble. But when I go there are certain items that should be $1, and that's what I go to get there. Dollar General, you got to realize that these stores are set up for people that are impoverished. Now, you can take advantage of that and not fall victim to the sales tactics that they employ. Dollar Generals are generally in rural areas where there's not a strong economy. Some people walk to those stores, but there are deals in there, and you got to pay attention, because those deals will shift on a weekly basis. The price don't change, and you take a store that sells
example,
10 million.
If you are, let's say you use a hand soap, a liquid hand soap, and you look at the brand name, look at the back, look at the ingredients, and then go to the Dollar General store, and if they have the same ingredients, then you're getting a deal. It's the same thing. It's just,
right.
That's smart shopping, if you ask me.
Yeah, I will go in there, like when I stock up on toilet paper, I get good toilet paper, but I go in there because I look for a certain brand that I get a certain deal on, and I'm going, that's the one thing. But I do check the prices. If that changes or shifts, I'm not married to getting what I get there.
Right.
And then I have this preclusion when I go visit somebody. Like if I came and visited you, all the ladies in the house would get a little gift bag, and it will have little tchotchkes in it that you might like. You wouldn't go buy the one single thing by yourself, by yourself.
Right.
But all of them together goes, oh, cool. And they're things ladies would like. And I just do that. I don't have a lot of investment in that bag. It's just a little bit of time, a little bit of thought, and a lot of, hey, I thought about you, and this is for you.
Sure.
That's what I use the Dollar General for. And, things like that, because they do take things that might be $3, $4, or $5 and go, let's go put this in the dollar aisle as bait and switch. When I see that, that's when I go, oh, I don't need them all, because I'm not reselling, but I'm gifting. And
you know what they do too? They'll take maybe they go into the chain stores and they'll look at their stock, and the stock will be let's say cookies, and let's say the expiration date is 6 months from now or something, and they'll go and restock and take the stuff that maybe only has 2 more months left, and then they'll dump it in these dollar stores, and it still has an expiration. It's only a short expiration. You got to be
careful. There, like in Pennsylvania, there is a police that comes in and looks at the expiration dates, and each product has a window of opportunity that you got to get it out before it expires, and otherwise they get in essence a ticket. That's why you see these discounted 50% off, or get it for 25%, that's in a big display barrel right by the register.
Yeah.
It's because it's going to expire soon. Doesn't mean that it's bad, but it means that they got to get it out of their site, and they can no longer donate it to charities because they can be sued.
Yeah.
So it's better for them just to either get what they can for it or write it off. You know?
Well, the thing I'm looking with that story is that with this 99-cent store closing, this chain closing, I'm thinking, is it going to just the beginning of other stores like Dollar General or Family Dollar or the dollar store? Are these stores destined for doom in the not too distant future because of Bidenomics?
Well, I think so. I mean, you look at the Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, they probably have better physical stores.
Yeah.
But the cost of the product is the cost of the product. And a lot of they have realigned shelves because an empty space means you're making no money on that. But if they don't have the product to put there, they got to stretch it thin or realign the store, and they're not getting the product in that they used to get because the warehouses are thin. Now they're, the Biden administration saying, well, the fact that we have less warehouses, we have a better supply chain going out, a more efficient supply chain. It is a stretched, really thin supply chain that we got going on right now.
Yeah.
You got good supply managers that are managing the product as best they can, but we don't have the selections, the varieties, and the goods to back it up. When something's gone, it's gone, and it's going to be a while before you get it again, if you get it again at all. So the Dollar Trees and the Family Dollar is probably next to go. Dollar General, they don't have a lot of investment in their stores. They're cheap. They can, and they really do steal from you.
Mm-hmm. I look at stores like Five and Below, and even their name puts them into a tight,
harm's way.
A tight spot. Yeah, Five and Below. It's like, what do they do now? With the economy going up.
Well, Five and Below and the Dollar Trees, with the 99-cent place going out, they'll pick up that inventory. They'll pick it up and bring it into their store, which is a few cents higher, or maybe $1.25 higher, and they can pick it up and resell it. Actually, they won't even pay what they paid for it, so they'll get it cheap. That'll give them a little bit of shelf life to where they can offer some deals and use that product. I mean, if I were them, that's what I'd do.
If I were Five and Below, I'd just change the name of the chain to something like Dollars and Below or something like that, or 10 and Below or something. Give them more of a buffer. Did you see where the Ukraine launched a major drone attack against a bunch of air bases in Russia?
Yeah, that would happen. We mentioned that yesterday morning. They did that.
We talked about it, but I think maybe we did at the end of the show. You're right. Yeah. But I thought that was interesting, Bill. That's a big deal. My first thought was
50 drones, I think.
Yeah, where did they get the drones from? They got them probably from us.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say, because the story happened while we were doing the podcast, and I was going, where did they get those drones? And they were strategic hits, and that was, I think we mentioned too that we're poking at the bear, and they might have taken out some planes and put some holes in some runways or do whatever. But, one thing that they're not going to be able to attack, they take out some planes, they take out a ship. Russia has over 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 nukes.
Right.
I think it's actually in the tens of thousands. But they have those. And, trying to take it out, I mean, I don't know. If you hit a silo that has a nuke in it, does that nullify the nuke? Or does that bomb inside, or does it detonate the bomb in there, even though it's on their soil? It contaminates.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. That's most of the silo sites are so hardened that you can't get.
A drone attack's not going to do it.
No, according to a source, the airfield that was targeted because it was used as a base for aircraft. Apparently, 20 Russian personnel were either killed or wounded, and so it had an effect on the people. CNN cannot independently verify the claims. If true, the strikes will be the most damaging carried out on an airfield inside Russia since the start of the conflict in February of 2022. So
every strike that's happened within Russia has been answered. They do answer.
Oh, they do, Bill. You're right. Big time.
So, let's say, they have a certain strategic bomber jet that they keep showing on the news. They got one of these, Well, yeah, that's great. Our strategic bomber is an old bomber, but it's been refitted so many times with new engines, new skin, new electronics. It's, the B-52.
Yeah, it's actually, it's like a new airplane when you look at all they've done to it. Yeah.
What would we do? What would we do if somebody carried out, let's say the illegals came here and they had 100 drones and they flew into the airspace of Barksdale Air Force Base where we couldn't take a missile and take them all out, and those things went in and hit the hangars where those B-52s were, the Strategic Air Command. Now, that's not the only base, but that is a major one. As a matter of fact, back in the days when they used to fly the shuttles, and I used to program a radio station there, big 50,000 water, it was an interesting day. I think it was 82, I think it was. They actually had the 747 that took the shuttle from after it landed in Edwards Air Force Base, piggybacked it, and it flew, and it had to land at Barksdale because it was the only runway big enough for that jet. And so we got to go out and tour the shuttle. And, because they did that.
I think you'll find out that the U.S. has a lot of their strategic bombers stationed underground. They're not open, they're not left out in the open.
But you could still. I used to live there. I know the base. Been on it. You could do some damage there, and you go to Minden, where they have the bunkers, the bunkers that carry all the warheads. Now they're pretty fortified, but I'm just saying, if somebody did an attack on our infrastructure that way, and let's just say took out 1, 2, 3 bombers, what would we do?
Here's the thing: you know about an air base that has the bombers, okay? You know about them, which means the Russians do too. What I'm saying is because most of the military is secretive, at least that's my experience. That base that you know about is only a fraction of what they really have and where they're really located. When I say that a lot of the bombers are in strategic, like mountain facilities, those are the ones you don't know about. Those are the ones that are buried underground in places like maybe Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or maybe out in what's the name of that mountain out in the Southwest? There's a bunch of them, and I can't think of the name. You know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I think that, but, Russia, you took out some of their stuff with those drones. I hope you feel good about it, because I think you'll find out that they have a lot more.
They do have a lot more. And if you were Putin, would you shrug your shoulders at it, or would you say, we got to do something? We got to answer in kind?
Yeah, I think he will, Bill. He always does.
I would.
Yeah, I think last weekend, didn't he send a bunch of was it Russian drones or were they Russian missiles? They took out the utilities in Kyiv last weekend. Yeah. So. Yeah,
and I don't think that I don't think the Ukraine has the might to do what they're doing without a little bit of help. And so that's us. And at some point in time, if I were Putin, I would sit there and say, you know what, let's go ahead and take a swipe at the real tiger. That's,
Yeah. Okay,
doing
Bill.
Stuff.
We have about 8 more minutes left in the show.
Oh, we're keeping track of time these days?
Well, no. Yeah, no. But I guess, Mike, it's time to put the papers down and talk speculattion. Because it's a Saturday program. We can do that on Saturdays.
Speculate. What the hell's going to happen?
What do you think is, where are we going? Are we headed towards some sort of conflict? I worry about the tens of thousands of illegal military-age men who we've allowed into the country. I mentioned a couple of days ago that in one day they stopped like 150 Chinese military-age men in the San Diego sector alone.
Well, it can't be good. I mean, these people have privileges. Okay, I get that. These people are getting money beyond any of our veterans or our people are getting. I don't get that. I mean, number one, and we're calling them undocumented citizens or the undocumented aliens. They're illegal. They came across illegally. They came across unvetted. They are illegal.
They broke our
Let's
laws.
not forget them.
Yeah.
They broke our laws, and they're getting benefits. And, the Democrats are, really in an uproar going, they're not getting free voting rights and all that stuff. The hell they're not. They are. The Elon Musk was being attacked because they said 1.2 million. I guess a lady from Texas, the Secretary of Voting or whatever, a Republican. Now the Democrats are touting, well, she didn't give those numbers. She gave these numbers. But I could not find on the internet where the hell they got those numbers that she said or that she said it. So either the liberal news is covering that up, who seems to report everything, or it didn't happen. And you are just throwing facts and figures out there that we're not allowed to challenge.
And now the left is upset because, there's been a change at the RNC. And the RNC is now, they've taken states to court. They want to have the states allowed to have like National Guard observers at the polling areas so that illegals won't feel comfortable walking into a polling booth if you have National Guard soldiers looking for people who shouldn't be there, I mean, this is the kind of thing that the left is getting concerned about because they thought that the fix was in.
You need to have verified voting, and that means a verified ID, and you have to have same-day voting with very limited exemptions on that.
And
like
paper ballots, too. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it should be paper ballots.
Yeah.
And you know what? There used to be a time that you had to keep, whether it's electronic or paper, you had to keep that paper trail intact. It's funny how, well, that file was purged. Oh, we can't find those boxes. Well, then I'll tell you what, then let's overturn the election and do it again. Let's go back, Jack, do it again.
We talked yesterday about you can't wait until the election's over and then try to have it fixed, because we did that in 2020 and it got us nowhere. I mean, at every corner, they laughed at us. The legal system laughed at us.
And
the media laughed at us. I think that we should make it so that we protect the election system before the election happens. It has to start now.
And the news, this pre-polling crap that they do, or we project a winner, that should be illegal because you're influencing the vote.
I agree.
Or, that stuff has got to stop immediately. That was the big complaint out in California because of the time change and why the people wouldn't go to the polls, because they were calling the elections from the East Coast. You know what? Blackout blackout then they would. Have a corrupt media.
I think what you said is true. Projections like that should be illegal. You can't do it. Wait until the vote comes in, and we'll tell you how it ended.
And if there's a question and proof that there was any kind of election interference, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll learn a lesson if we have to go back and retest. Because that's what if somebody gets caught cheating on a test, you failed. You want your grade. You got to do it again. We want to have a fair election. The president that's in power, he becomes a neutral pony until we get it again. We got to get our elections together. I don't have all the answers, but I'm just saying the way we're doing it is wrong. It's unfair.
Working.
It's not working, whether you're Democrat or Republican.
It's a lie. It's a lie now.
You've got to agree with, that we need to do it fairly, unless you're some foreign influence that's coming in. Like the little clown that's at the United Nations, which I don't even know why we have that anymore. Young little lady that was put in charge saying, she's a Marxist, known Marxist. She blames climate change and capitalism and white men. If that is not the most racist thing and the stupidest thing I ever heard, what is? But, the United Nations, if that's how they want to think and go, get it out of the United States, get it off our soil.
I would say to my leftist friends out there, that if you think it's okay to have the system as it stands now, where it's easily fudged, how will you feel if suddenly, let's say 10 years down the road, the opposite side of the aisle, the right, is in a position to steal it, and they do it? If they reverse it on you, because, historically, when things are going one way, eventually the pendulum swings to the other way. Yeah.
And I got to tell you right now, I'm a conservative, but I do not want to see all right. I got to be careful how I say that, because you want to say it differently. All right rule, just like I don't want to see all left rule.
Right.
I want to see a balance, because the one thing that I can tell you right now, I may not agree with you, but I will listen to you and at least consider your point. And if you have a valid point, I'll weigh that.
Hey.
And you could have influence
if
on
I know the system is honest, then
you can accept
rock
it.
solid honest, then I can accept it. Right now, it is not that way. Hey, listen, if it's a rock solid honest system, I think my beliefs are strong enough where we're going to win, okay? But that being said, if I'm wrong and the system is undeniably truthful, then I'll go along with it. But it wasn't that way in 2020 or 2016 or 2012 or, it's been
2008.
It's been fudgeable for decades, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway.
More kids are moving out or deciding not to move out of the house because it's just too damn expensive now.
I believe that. I do believe that. Yeah, and I don't blame them. But fortunately, a lot of good parents are giving them, support. And
75 cities in the U.S., top cities in the U.S., are in negative dollars. They're on the verge or either bankrupt. But you know how they count that money? They count it as money against the population of the city, the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. It's not the city that's in debt, it's the taxpayers. It's their debt, not their, it's your debt, not their debt, the way that they
Wait a
look
second.
at it.
The politicians accrue the debt. They actually they build the debt. They create the debt. but they dump that debt on the innocent taxpayers in that community. Is what
Now,
you're saying.
now what you could do is say, well, the hell with it, I'm not taking this debt, and move the hell out of that city. That's a great idea, but with Democrats in charge, they'll do what they did in Pennsylvania at one time. When people inherited money, they said, I got to get out of Pennsylvania. But the fact that you lived in Pennsylvania for
Inheritance
a couple of
tax?
years, the inheritance tax or just tax in general would follow you whichever state you went to.
You think about inheritance tax. It's money that's already been taxed several times before it gets to the family. You know, it shouldn't be taxable. Inheritance tax. Wait a second. You get taxed when you generate it. It's income tax. You get taxed when you buy property. When you use that money to buy stuff, and then when you die, that's the residue of your estate is taxed again when it's passed on to your family members. It is obscene.
Well, what happens if you own a piece of property and you sell it, and let's say that property you made a 15% gain? Did you really gain when you're going to pay a 20% tax on it?
No.
So who really made the money?
The state. Well, look at the lottery tickets. You know, I mean, we talk about this week's Powerball jackpot is $1.1 billion. Well, in reality, most people take the cash option, so you can cut that like in half, okay? And then, because most of it is taxes. Most of it goes away, but the cash option is like let's say it's out of the 1.1 billion, you get 600 million or something dollars. That's a lot of money, but then you get taxed on that money. Now you're down to maybe 200 million, which is still a lot of money. You're not going to starve ever again, but still, it's not the 1.1 billion they're selling you. It's almost like it's false advertising. You're never going to see the $1.1 billion. And they say, well, take it in annuities. Annuities is 20 years. In 20 years,
your annuity right here. Yeah,
20 years. I'll be daisy fertilizer. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you remember what was it? They were talking about the day of visibility. Biden declared the day of visibility.
Yeah,
and all the left
transgender.
came out going, oh, that's been around forever. No, it
Since
hasn't.
2009, they say. They say.
Okay. Okay, if it was such a big deal, why haven't we talked about it every year?
Oh, it's because I never heard of it either.
Yeah, but don't tell me that the 31st was not a purposeful
Of course it was.
day to declare it was. And then you got Rachel Levine that got his panties in a wad and came out and it was all about this. Well, it was just a coincidence that it happened on Easter.
No. You see, someone made a very astute observation. I don't know who it was, but I thought let's say it was 2009. They made it a holiday, a day of observance. Okay, whoever made that day, they said it was going to be the last day of the month or something, the 31st. They knew. All you had to do was look at a calendar, and you can see that at some point over the course of the years, Easter's going to fall on it. They knew that Easter was going to fall on that date. It's not like it was an accident. Oh, I don't know how that happened. You can tell. You can look at future calendars and see, okay, well.
Oh, yeah, I can look at, the next. You can find out when it's going to fall on that date again, because.
It wasn't a surprise. They weren't blindsided. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they didn't give a damn.
And, Transgender Visibility Day. What does that mean? What is it for?
Well,
and, of course, you got the Secretary of Health, Rachel Levine, a transgender Secretary of Health. What an oxymoron that is.
Somebody said, Bill, that
an unhealthy lifestyle.
Every other month, or every other week, or I saw this
There's some kind of gay thing.
There's some kind of a gay holiday. Absolutely. It's like you can't get away from it.
If you watch the news in most major cities, they and I'm not trying to be racial here, but generally speaking, if you have a male in the role, he's black and he's gay. But and I'm like going, that is not a true representation of the black population or America at all. And the transgender and gay. Now, I don't care that a news person is that preclusion, but not all of them.
I watched
on every channel.
I watched a new program, a miniseries on Netflix last night. It was called. I want to say, not Inebriated. It was called. I forgot what it's called. But the fact is, it was all sex and booze and drugs, and the sex was mixed gender, there was gay sex, and it was blatant, by the way. And I thought this is Netflix.
Well,
this is Netflix. This is
Let me
Netflix.
ask you a
Somebody at
question.
Netflix said, we're going to put several $1 million into this venture, but I want a lot of sex. I want a lot of drugs. I want all of the deviant things in society to be shown in this miniseries.
Well, I was at a store yesterday, and I was going down the aisle to pick up something, and the one, some headache medicine, as a matter of fact. And then I saw there, I said, oh, that's kind of strange. They sell legal marijuana or gummies and stuff like that, cannabis. And yet there is a thing going, oh, you can check to see if your kid's got smokes marijuana. I'm going, why do you need a marijuana test now? Because it's legal. Who cares? That's like having a sobriety, an alcohol test thing there. I don't even know that they will pull you over. Do they have a test on the field when they pulled over in a car? If they were smoking weed, you can smell it coming out the window. It seems we're
Bill,
giving
I don't know.
a stoned America is a willing America to do any stupid thing that they lead you to do. You're sitting there going, okay, they're doing this. Now, you got the Secretary of Health, who is transgender, which basically promotes unsafe sex. And they, oh, no, wear a condom. No, you're promoting something that's unhealthy and unsafe. And yet now we're flooding the television with that. Now, there has been a preclusion of some perverse stuff going on in Hollywood and in America. We're the number one, pedestal again, we're the number one importer of trafficking children for the sex trade or whatever else trade. When is that going to become the norm on TV to brainwash us that it's okay?
Yeah.
Isn't that the next last step?
The series I was talking about is called Obliterated. And, just the name says it all. And by the way, the rating for it is a 6.8 out of 10. A lot of people like it. Probably all of them are about 19 years old. 18
Do they
years,
like it?
Well,
or is that a fake number?
You don't know. You don't know. But the people who were in it, half the time they're naked and having sex. The other half the time they're drunk. Oh, by the way, the other thing that gets me about films, this being the loose end of the program, the other thing that gets me about films nowadays is they really enjoy showing some people puking. They enjoy showing the act of vomiting. You'll see someone get sick from being, and instead of cutting away like they used to do in the old days, they hold the camera there and they have the phony puke and people. Then it's truly the most vile of the vile. Do you know that they've lowered the standard so much? And if you know anything about movies and you look at this miniseries, Obliterated. They spent millions of dollars on this. Millions of dollars. Somebody put a lot of bucks in this miniseries to be a success. There's a scene in it, for example, C. Thomas Howell, who I always thought was a pretty good actor. He was in the movie Gettysburg, played the young brother of one of the officers in the movie Gettysburg. In the full frontal nudity. He's completely naked in one scene and drunk. I think somebody's drilling into, or maybe it's my house. Yeah, it is my house. Somebody's vacuuming in my house. I think that's a sign, Bill. I think that's a sign from God.
I had somewhere else to go with all of this stuff. We'll take it up on another conversation. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked away by the vacuum.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Hey, listen. But anyway,
you.
the point is, folks, we're living in strange times, and our values have been diminished, and I think that's intentional. If they make us weaker, like you just said, with drugs and promiscuity and stuff like that, we're a more vulnerable society. We're easier to take over. Go ahead.
Little lesson in theater. Red Skelton said it the best. Anybody can sit there and tell a dirty joke to be funny and get a laugh or do something like that, but it takes a real true talent. They can sit there and keep it clean and be creative enough to knock down that wall. That's your
and he
talented
was
comedian.
100% right.
You know,
People say, well, they need to be more realistic with their movies. No, I would refer you to the 30s and the 40s when they did some fantastic,
theater of the mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, a love scene was, a couple just sitting there holding each other and just a light kiss.
It was
and then
implied.
It was implied, and then it went away to where the camera faded to the window, looking outside,
Yep.
and the sea, the sea crashing on the shore. You got it.
Exactly.
You got it. And then the next morning, they're sitting there at the table,
Yes.
smoking a cigarette. I figured that one out in my mind, and it was a lot more into it.
You're
and
pretty
a lot
smart
more,
guy.
Yeah, and there was a lot more into it in my mind than there was on the screen,
I
Come
know.
on.
Hey,
A little
listen.
imagination goes a long way.
It sure as heck does. I wish the producers and directors had it. Listen, we're done. We've had an interesting program. Be aware of the fact that things could happen this weekend. I know we sound like we're alarmists. We don't mean to be, but just keep your eyes open, your head on a swivel, as they would say, because there are some states that are doing, what are they, state of emergencies over this eclipse.
Well, we're in a state of I don't know what's going to go on, so
Exactly. Anyway,
you might
my
want
friend,
to get the door out of here, I don't know.
if you want to contact us, our number is 833-538-7868, 833-538-7868.
Mail at itsanotherday.com, mail at jimandbill.com, and Jim and Bill at mail.com. And I think that something's missing.
Yeah, I know. You're absolutely correct. I was thinking the same. There's something that's just not... Oh, wait a second. You know what it is.
Oh, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.